My name is Philip Gorgin. My date of birth is the 7th of February 1949, so that makes me 73. I went to Brady from about when I was 6 years old and stayed there for 12 years. I was born in the East End of London. We lived on a council estate. My parents were very working class. My father was a tailor. My mother was a machinist. I had a sister who's almost 4 years older than me, and we had a very happy and contented childhood. My sister and myself were actually the first Ovaltine children. We would dress up and sing the Ovaltine song to my parents, so much so that they would leave the room. But everything was fine. We had a good schooling, and the club was an essential part of our life. I started at the club about when I was 6, and I went into the miners. Now, the club then was in Durwood Street. It was the boys' club, and I went in as a miner. And my first leader was a gentleman by the name of Simon Klinger. It was just a part of making friends, really, and some of those boys are still friends down the line now. So it was a good learning process for us. Times in the East End were safe. We didn't really worry if we went out as young children. So much so my primary school was just past the girls' club, so we had a good walk. But there was no problem with walking to the school. No one was going to stop us and molest us. It was just very good times. On the estate we lived, we had an enormous playground. Of course, there were no gadgets then, but we had an enormous playground where in the winter we played football, and in the summer we played cricket. And the only times we left the playground was when your mother shouted, "Your dinner's on the table." And that's basically, for me, where I spent my childhood. It wasn't until I got married that we eventually moved to Redbridge. My block of flats was in Cambridge Heath Road. There was 4 separate blocks and an enormous debris where the fire brigade would attend regularly each Guy Fawkes evening. And it was just a way of making friends. The kids got on well, and we had a caretaker who many a time would try to chase us because he was complained to by the residents that we were playing knockdown ginger. But all in all, it was all good fun. We weren't doing any harm to anyone. I went to Brady because it gave us an opportunity to meet other people. And as I say, I was there when I was about 6 years old. A youth club that was attended by many people. And again, as I say, it started with the miners, and we got an understanding of things we could do and things we couldn't do. And I suppose basically we were interested in football and cricket and just general sports. I'm sure there were other activities, but that's what I enjoyed, was the sports side of it. I think it was a purpose of you growing up in the correct manner, how you could mix with people of all different ages, and I think we learnt a lot how to communicate through going to the club, and we bonded very much so. I also attended the boys' club as a cub, where again we met new friends, but we was in the vicinity of the club. So the club was always part of our life. It was, you go to school, you went home, you went to club. And it was a question of just mixing with people and being friendly with people. And it's continued ever since. Well, basically when you went from the minors, you went into the juniors, and then into the seniors. But basically I was football, cricket, table tennis, and I don't know if you can call snooker an activity, but there was a snooker room at the club. This is at the when the clubs amalgamated, and I did the Duke of Edinburgh Award there, and it was just, again, it was all a case of being with people you know and knew, and it was just a place to meet people, and it was one hell of an occasion to be a member of the Brady Club, really was. The leader at the club was Yogi Mayer, and Yogi Mayer was just a one-off. Yogi didn't know the word no, and he was always encouraging you to do things. There wasn't, you couldn't do it, you are going to do it. Um, in a way, I think he was a lunatic, but a smashing man. He really, really was, and he was at the heart of the club. It was his leadership that we looked up to, and you could always go to him for a bit of advice, and it was never wrong, the advice he gave us. Oh, my most memorable moment was meeting Prince Philip when he attended the club. We had to get permission to leave school early and to attend the club, and it was an honour to meet him. He got the idea as to what happened, what occurred at the club, and I think he was interested in the youth system and how it progressed. And as I say, it was just an honour and something I won't forget. I've been to Skeet between 300 and 400 times. I was also in the Boy Scouts, and we had a log cabin at Skeet. So if we weren't using Skeet via the club, we were using the log cabin for the Scouts and scouting. How it differed in the Queen's Scout Award. So this was different form of activity than what we were used to at the club. Yes, we played games, but it wouldn't be a session of playing football. It was different games involved, right? Scouting games, and we'd camped many a times. We went over to France and we camped in a farmer's field. I can remember that, and it was on a slope. And one of our young men managed to slide out under the tent, and many a time ended up in the field with the cows. But it was a different experience. It was a learning experience with the Scouts, and it kept us in good stead. What do I remember? Skeet. I remember the original housekeepers, Alf and Christine Ruddock, and they lived in the house at the time. Their cooking wasn't the most hygienic because they always had a cigarette in their mouth, but the food was excellent, was absolutely excellent. The thing that always stuck out in my mind was once we were travelling to Skeet on the train, and one of our members, whose name should remain silent, put his head out the window at one station and promptly shouted, "All change," and all the passengers got off the train. The guard come running in and says he wasn't too happy with that situation, but boys will be boys. I went to camp on a few occasions. One was in Tenby and one was in the Isle of Wight. This is with the Brady Club. And another story that springs to mind was that one of our managers had a wooden leg, and he happened to come into the tent one day and asked one of the lads if they could unscrew his leg, which we thought was quite humorous at the time, and he hobbled off and he was quite okay. One was in France, which again was a very good experience, and we was able to cross the river to go to Switzerland, and again, it was all learning experiences and bonding experiences, which is very, very important. And I don't think there can ever be enough bonding and questions asked. So it was just, again, a wonderful time to be in and growing up in. The only thing that possibly we've not mentioned is our time in Amsterdam, which our manager Dennis Bondley headed. It was a great time there because he took us to play football against other clubs, but not only that, he encouraged us to sightsee and take in Amsterdam, and I think possibly wanted to introduce us to a few women in the red light district, but his wife was there at the time, so it couldn't happen. But it was a good time. It's taught me to be a better person, to be understanding, to communicate, to mix, and your friends are friends for life. If there were problems, which there were very few, if any, there was always someone older and possibly wiser you could speak to. But Brady's always been in our heart. Skeeter's been in our heart. It was a place where, as a kid who grew up in the East End and didn't know what a piece of greenery looked like, and to go to Skeet and be in the country, it was a really nice thing. So it's taught me A, how to communicate, B, how to bond, C, how to talk to people, and D, just to be a respectful person to others.